We are, each of us, most assuredly going to die. Probably not tonight. And yet, almost undeniable certainty exists that each and every one of us will face our mortality. Indeed, I'd suggest to you that most of us confront it at some point over the course of the year. Perhaps we have an uncertainty, the doctor's office visit. Perhaps it's losing a friend or a loved one and recognizing that we too will meet our end, and sometimes unexpectedly. And while our mortality ought to be contemplated occasionally, it's probably not something we're best to dwell on. However, I would suggest to you that the proper place of Ash Wednesday in the liturgical year is, in fact, to remind us of our very mortality. It is part of the point of the ashes that we will put on our foreheads in the sign of the cross. It is a reminder that we come from the dust through the power of God, and at some point we return to the dust. We, each of us, is going to die. Now, Ash Wednesday may serve for us as a point in the liturgical year to contemplate our mortality, even briefly, but fortunately for us, I believe, it serves for a greater purpose than that as well. It serves for us this great entrance into the holy and sacred season of Lent. Now, the season of Lent, to be clear, is a season of self-penitence, fasting, self-reflection, denying oneself. But now that I've covered the fact that we are all mortal and going to die, this should seem like good news. I don't know how else to make self-penitence and fasting sound really great. But in fact, I really do think if we place it properly in the context of the church year, we might find that it is, in fact, pretty great. You see, for us, the season of Advent, that season that leads us towards Christmas, is a season of preparation, not unlike Lent. And that season of Advent is a reminder to us of how, for generations, there was an image of a Messiah and a Savior who was to come, and a hope and expectation placed on him. And we recall that as a part of our history, our human history, our history as a people of God for a season. And when Christmas comes, we celebrate the incarnation of our Lord and Savior, God appearing before us, leading us towards a life that is life-giving, a life that exemplifies the love, mercy, and grace we find in God, and reestablishes our relationship with God. And then the holy season of Epiphany is a recollection to us of all the ways that God has been made manifest before us over the course of human history, throughout the scriptures, and even in our own lives. The season of Epiphany is a reminder of how God reveals God's self, sometimes very clearly and sometimes in ways that we have to sift through very carefully. As we enter this holy season of Lent, we have an opportunity to examine our lives. I would suggest to you, this is something we do on a regular basis. We assess our own lives in terms of how much time we spend at work versus at home, or how we spend the time with our families, or whether the meeting we just went to is an effective use of our... We probably shouldn't go there. But we evaluate friendships and commitments and how we live our lives on a regular basis. But if we spent all of our time doing that, not only would it be exhausting, but it's also harder to accomplish very much when you're continually reassessing the things that you're engaged in. So more often than not, we kind of reassess for a time and then reinvest ourselves in the things that are working and seek out things that will add to that. This is the proper place in the season of Lent to examine our lives as disciples, to examine our lives in light of the baptismal covenant, to examine how we are following Christ in our own lives. And perhaps for a season we try on some new disciplines. We engage in things that would be too difficult to maintain year in and year out. Perhaps some of them even stay. We find that as we engage in additional disciplines as disciples of God, that they bear fruit, that they're life-giving, that they add to our understanding of God and perhaps even glorify God in the world around us. This is what the season of Lent is all about. And so I do think that perhaps it is, in some form or fashion, a bit exciting. And then we have in this gospel lesson a great caution to us about practicing our piety before others, and we're all wondering whether we should have stayed home and offered our personal devotions in the privacy of our own homes and not made a spectacle of coming out and smearing ashes on our foreheads. And yet, I take some comfort here in being part of a liturgical church that has a long-standing practice of ritual that almost removes us as individuals from the process and connects us more intimately not only to God, but to all the saints who've walked before us, and allows us to get out of the way and connect. And certainly I don't think what Christ is suggesting to us is that we stay home and avoid the sense of community that we establish among ourselves as we come to gather and celebrate the sacraments and sing the songs and offer our prayers and devotions. I think probably what Christ is cautioning us about is showing off with our faith. Indeed, at the time, there were several factions that were kind of competing in the temple, and they were, find ways of trying to illustrate how their way was good, and maybe even more so, they try to illustrate how the other person was messing it up. Probably don't know anything about that these days, but still, I think we take the words in this gospel lesson carefully and hold them lightly as we enter into the season whereby we try on new disciplines and engage in discipleship in new ways. Perhaps the sense of community isn't so much so that we can show off how good we are at a particular discipline, but instead ask and receive from others what has been fruitful for them, that we might try that on as well. Perhaps there's opportunities to be had in receiving throughout this season of Lent in ways that are life-giving and true. My hope, my prayer for us is that people of God assembled on this midweek service. Well, why in the middle of the week? Well, you can't properly begin a day that is really about your mortality. Remember, that's where we started. Mortality on a day where we celebrate the resurrection. Because even in the season of Lent, Sundays are still like a little Easter. We'll tuck our alleluias away. But we will preserve the sense of resurrection on Sunday because it is life-giving and true, and we are a resurrection people. But my hope and my prayer is that as we invest ourselves in this season of Lent, that we might be bold enough to try something we're not sure we can accomplish. That we might invest ourselves in disciplines that seem challenging. Maybe even something we're not sure we can manage for the entirety of the season of Lent. My hope is that we consider the sacrifice that God has made for us. My hope is that we might find a place to store our treasure in God. God. That God might be known through us. And that we might find our hearts there